I think that what Nicole points out about the reality about polling numbers for incumbent presidents and the real history of that versus what President Biden said, which was not actually factually accurate as far as I can tell, that's worrying because it makes me worry that the president is being given information about his political standing that may not be based in reality, that may be sunnier than is real.
They do acknowledge that polling has taken a hit. But they also say that they still see a path to 270. That path runs through the best path, they say, through Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. I might observe that's their only path.
Yeah.
And like Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia were arguably gone before the debate.
Yeah, and we have time to go, but they were already certainly leaning away
that's what I mean.
From Joe Biden. And quite frankly, as you know, Jake, if you sit down with Biden campaign officials prior to the debate, they would say their path to 270 is through Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and the second congressional district in Nebraska. And they wanted this early debate because they wanted to wake up the public to this race and to this contrast. The public has been awakened to this contest, I don't think in the way that the Biden campaign wanted. But I should just note, since the debate, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin got harder, not easier. So that even though they see that as their only viable path, that means their viable path got less probable for them.
They see it as their best path. I'm the one saying it's their only path as of right now.
Hes Gone Gang. I mean, as far as CNN is concerned, and even to a certain extent, MSNBC, gang, Joe is done. The painful reality of the polling is starting to set in, and more Democrats and media pundits are coming to the conclusion Joe has got to go. Right? Joe has got to go. We got the latest on Biden's dismal press conference last night, where he committed perhaps the two worst gaffes of his entire presidency. And that's saying something. And we're going to see why, as of today, more and more Democrats are indeed more determined than ever to remove Biden from the ticket. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It is Livestream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve. You're a pager professor here to help you stay sane in these insane times, or maybe we should call them senile times. I think that's what we're going to start calling them now. So whatever you do, don't be senile. Make sure you smack that bell and subscribe button. We are live on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. We got a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to dive right in. Remember, as many of you know, in terms of YouTube, our super chats have been completely disabled because we've been totally demonetized by YouTube. So if you want to ask me your questions during our live stream here, just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com. That's fight.turleytalks.com. Sign up for any level of support you like, whatever works for you, and you have instant access to our private virtual platform where you can ask me any question you like, and I'll answer it right here on this live stream. So just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com. Sign up on any level of support, and I'll answer your questions right here on this live stream. Also, do not forget, we have got our Call to Arms event, our own free online event next Wednesday, July 17th. You are absolutely not going to want to miss this. This is gold, gang. This is obviously, given the polling leads, given Biden's collapse, his campaign collapse, this is no time to get complacent. In fact, this is the time that we can bury the Democrats for a generation. And that's exactly what we're going to be strategizing about this next Wednesday night, the 17th. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's a completely free event that's designed to show you your own crucial role in securing Trump's victory in November. We've already had over 1,000 of our fellow patriots RSVP. And if you click on that link below, or, oh, look at that, we even have a QR code that you can scan. How's that for tech? We're getting big tech here at Turley Talks, right? So if you click on that link below, or if you scan this brand new QR code, we are going to send you a Courageous Conservatives book bundle absolutely free, just as a thank you for taking your part in securing Trump's victory seriously. So don't wait. Click on that link or scan that QR code and register today. It was, when all said and done, a frankly bizarre and rather surreal press conference. Remember, it was billed as Biden's big boy conference. This was his big boy. This was a completely unscripted event that began with Biden using a teleprompter for his opening remarks. Yes, Biden began his unscripted press conference by reading from a script. And then after that, he did this.
I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. Reuters, Jeff Mason.
So again, this big boy press conference for old poopy pants, this completely unscripted press conference begins with Biden delivering a scripted intro, and then he reads from a script on who he's going to call from. Again, I want this to sink in. When have you ever seen anything even remotely like this? What other world leader is doing this? What other politician is doing this, period? When have you ever seen a press conference, like one where the president begins with a teleprompter for his opening remarks and then calls on members of the press from a previously approved list of names? If this isn't the definition of choreographed, I don't know what is. Now, what followed, as you would expect, given the only people who are allowed to ask questions are those who were pre-approved, what followed were puffball, kid gloves questions from an obviously corrupt establishment press corps. Question after question, again, clearly choreographed to deliberately desperately try to make Biden seem cogent and coherent and competent. But Biden obviously knew the questions ahead of time. Some think he had something in his ear just by the way he was speaking. We don't know. And of course, we shouldn't put that past them. And yet, despite all of that obvious choreography, despite all of that, here is how Biden answered his first question.
Do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Let's start there. Let's start off this press conference, my big boy moment, with one of the biggest gaffes of my presidency. Let's start with a major gaffe, referring to the vice president as Trump. Now, you all know that gaffe was bad enough, but you all know that wasn't it. You all know that wasn't it. You all know that gaffe came on the heels of an even more consequential gaffe earlier in the day when Biden was introducing Ukrainian President Zelensky to the podium. And here is his utterly cringeworthy introduction.
Now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Right? He may be better, but Biden sure ain't. I mean, that gaffe. It wasn't, look, let's just be honest. It wasn't just a gaffe. That was painful idiocy on display for all the world to see. That was idiocy. No other world leader would have done that. No other world leader would have expressed himself in such a painfully idiotic mistake. I mean, that of all the gaffes you can make with Volodymyr Zelensky, That's the last way. Introducing him as his mortal enemy in the time of war is probably the last one. Here's how Red Eagle Politics put it. I thought this was very clever. Biden called Zelensky Putin and Kamala Trump a couple hours apart, arguably two of the worst gaffes of his presidency, both at a time when he's trying to prove he's still, quote, with it. Glorious. It was glorious. And that constant Biden deference to anyway, when he embarrasses himself, when he starts losing his train of thought, that of course was literally littered all throughout the press conference.
This is anyway, in the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling into 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, it wasn't about just, read what his objective is. And anyway, but then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
Now, of course, the press conference had what are now becoming routine Biden cognitive malfunctions like this one.
And I think you'll see that some of our European friends are going to be curtailing their investment in Russia. In China, as long as China continues to have this indirect success, help to Russia in terms of being able to help their economy as well as help them in, as a consequence of that, their ability to fight in Ukraine.
Yeah. I don't know what he just said there. I don't think he knows what he just said there, right? That's one of those moments. And there was even a moment of extraordinary irony.
Who goes would inform you.
Am I using that way?
Are you thinking that way about how the next two
down, I can't get the job done? That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None. Who I got here? Merrick, Pulaski Radio.
All right, for some reason that clip got interrupted. I don't know what that was, but basically he said, if I slow down, I can't get the job done. And that's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that. None. And then he goes, okay. Someone help me read this list. Now, there were at least some reporters among that feckless lot, that pre-approved feckless lot, that did ask some pressing questions about Biden's fledgling campaign. And Biden's response, of course, did not disappoint. Take a look.
Who goes would inform you.
Am I using that way?
Are you thinking that way about how the next 2 weeks go? Will that affect your decision? Or are you fully determined on running in November as the party's nominee?
I'm determined on running, but I think it's important that I allay fears by let them see me out there. Let me see them out. For the longest time it was, Biden's not prepared to sit with us unscripted. Biden's not prepared to, anyway.
Are you worried about this cognitive decline coming? Oh no, anyway, defers again to his anyway. And at the end of this conference, perhaps the most fitting end to this, frankly, train wreck of a campaign, Biden was asked about President Trump's response to his confusing him with Kamala Harris. Trump had already been tweeting out what a goof Biden is in confusing him with Kamala Harris. Here's what Biden had to say.
This concludes.
Respectfully, earlier you misspoke in your opening answer. You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone.
Seriously? I mean, seriously, what kind of answer was that? Listen to him. What does that even mean? Listen to him. What does that? I mean, and then he just shuffles off the stage, the Biden shuffle. I'll give him that, by the way. He didn't get lost getting off the stage. I'll give him that. It was, I mean, I don't even know what to say here. Here's the headline. I'll let the New York Post say it. Here's the headline from this morning's edition. Blunder of the world. Note, not wonder. Blunder of the world with the byline, Bumbling Biden. Did you see that, by the way? That's our tagline, Bumbling Biden. That's our moniker for him. I should have trademarked that. Bumbling Biden gaffes his way through make or break Q&A. Any Dem convinced? And of course, that's the fundamental question of this campaign, of this imploding, catastrophic campaign. How many Democrats are going to stick with Joe after these utterly disastrous 2 weeks? We know more and more Never Trumpers who were all with Joe at the beginning are leaving the Biden train now. Meghan McCain has had enough. The ultimate Never Trumper tweeted out, please stop making us watch Biden humiliate himself. I really can't take it anymore. I feel so sick and sad and awful about all of this. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Something's obviously wrong with him. I truly don't understand what his family is thinking. Yeah, you're a little late to the party, Meghan. I mean, we were all saying this 3.5 years ago when you're piling on Trump, when you and your ilk were fawning all over this corpse in the basement here in Delaware. I mean, remember, that's what's so utterly ironic about what Biden was saying last night, or at least trying to say, you know, through all his mumbling and his slang of prepositions. You know, I've been all over the world. I've been all over the world these last 2 weeks. Where was Trump? Where's Trump been? I bet. Well, now don't hold me to it, but I bet. Well, anyway, I've been to 20 cities. I've been to 20 different cities. And what's Trump doing? He's just sitting on a golf cart. A golf cart. Well, anyway, that's coming from a guy who got elected. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. After hiding in his basement for months. That's coming from a guy who got holed up for 6 days at Camp David to prepare for a debate he absolutely bombed. I mean, how can anyone take anything coming out of that oatmeal-crusted mouth seriously? I have no idea at this point. And frankly, that appears to be the opinion of more and more high-ranking Democrats here. Unfortunately for Joe and his rehabilitation tour, 4 more congressional Democrats have come out as of this morning calling on Biden to step aside. This is not going to stop. This is not going to stop. This drip, or as Karl Rove, who I normally despise, but I think he rightfully put it, this campaign is basically bleeding out in front of us. And we're just going to see this pool of blood grow and grow and grow. Make no mistake, there are now reports that dozens, you heard that right, dozens, this is from CBS News, dozens of Democrats are about to step forward and call on Biden to bow out of this race. This is coming out at the exact same time that CNN is reporting that Pelosi and Obama are getting together to discuss Joe's viability behind the scenes. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, talk about Game of Thrones stuff. You've got now internal polling among Democrats. Have you heard about this? They're trying to gauge whether Cackle's Kamala is a viable candidate. I mean, that's being reported under the surface, as it were. It's on the low in terms of what's happening inside the Biden camp. They themselves want to see if Kamala is a feasible alternative. I have to be honest with you. I think that's a bit of job security for Joe that they're engaged in. Her numbers are so low, they want to show nervous donors, which we'll get into in a moment because this is huge. That's a huge development. But they want to show nervous donors that Biden is actually really their only hope against Trump. It sure ain't Kamala. She polls even worse. But regardless, gang, the very fact that all these things are happening just 100+ days away from Election Day shows you what disarray the Democrats are in right now. And to top it all off, even international leaders are now, shall we say, inadvertently expressing their concerns over Biden. And all of this has the far left activists disguised as journalists over at MSNBC literally freaking out. Wait until you see this. It's, gang, butter the popcorn. There's not enough butter for the popcorn. You're going to love this. But first, gang, if you are just joining us, if you want to ask me your questions because YouTube has suspended our super chats, just click on that link below. Go to fight.turleytalks.com. Join any one of our levels of support. You have access to our very own virtual platform where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them on this live stream. Also, gang, what if things were to collapse all around us like they're happening right now to Biden? What if what's happening to Biden's campaign happened to society at large? Would you be fully prepared? Now, we're still a long way away from November. Too long, in my opinion. And if we're paying any attention at all, being prepared for any disaster is no longer a choice. It is now a full-blown necessity. And all I can say, gang, is thank God for the wellness company. Gang, they are amazing. They have given me and my family the peace of mind to handle any medical crisis that comes our way, from tick bites to the next pandemic. The wellness company's medical emergency kit is a true lifeline. Now, this is absolutely essential to stock up on in case of emergency. It's not just food. It's not just water. It's meds. And that's what the wellness emergency kit gives you. It's chock full of essential meds like ivermectin, antibiotics, antivirals, and more. This kit gives you real peace of mind for this area of preparedness. And I'm so glad I've got mine. And the wellness company, it's a team of renowned medical experts, including Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. James Thorpe, Dr. Harvey Risch, Dr. Drew Pinsky, and a whole host of other truth-seeking doctors. The medical emergency kit they've designed sets the gold standard for safety and prevention. Don't wait until the next crisis is here. Get peace of mind right now by clicking on the link below or by visiting twc.health/Turley. That's twc.health/Turley. And then just use promo code Turley, and you're going to get an exclusive $45 off and free shipping. You heard that right. Use promo code Turley, and you're going to get $45 off and free shipping. So I got my emergency pack, gang. Now it's your turn. Make sure you have yours. Click on that link below right now. All right, gang. Like I said, it is not just American pundits and politicians that are publicly voicing their concerns about Biden's decline. We now have exclusive video that was just released, generally, that revealed even world leaders like Italy's Giorgia Meloni are making fun of Biden's cognitive decline while they're all waiting for him at the latest NATO summit. We could all see Meloni. She was rolling her eyes like someone in a coma, as well as checking her non-existent watch, basically mocking Biden and his obvious degenerative issues that everyone in the world is seeing, most particularly Vladimir Putin and President Xi. No matter how much the legacy media or what's left of their attempts of trying to cover this stuff up. And what's really happening here in the end is this is all just, again, 100+ days away from November. This is all basically unleashing a civil war inside the Democrat Party. Here's Jen Circleback Psaki having it out with a fellow Democrat strategist calling for Biden to step down. Take a look.
For Joe Biden. I love Joe Biden. And I just have to say, the problem with the debate is that it reaffirmed what a lot of people feared was that he was old. He is 81 years old. He is very conversant on policy. This is not a question of whether he is good on policy, whether he's been an effective president, or whether he is a good man. He is all of those things.
Or whether he has more expertise than Donald Trump, or is better on policy.
Who is promising to flip his allegiances on the Ukraine war. It's about whether he can defeat Donald Trump. And the challenge is with that press conference, which he was quite conversant on all these issues, it didn't give people a path, nor was it maybe designed to, on how he could defeat Trump in November. So I think it gave them, it gave them more time, which for the campaign is a win, right?
They want.
It doesn't mean it's a win for the process, because this purgatory and this in-between is a real challenge, and the uncertainty is what's a challenge for the down-ballot candidates. One of the things that's
I actually absolutely agree with you. This is a purgatory. This is a terrible, terrible moment. We cannot have another week of this, because we're done. We're lost. We're done. It's insurmountable. We have another.
I disagree.
But no, I think it's insurmountable if we have another week like this. Absolutely. And I want this to not be the case. But if we have another week, we're done. Period.
These are. I think we just got a backstage pass into the kind of conversations that are happening in back rooms right now among Democrats. I mean, did you hear that? This is a purgatory. Biden's age and senility are a purgatory that we're not getting out of. We're trapped. And if we have another week of this, well, if we keep using our purgatio metaphor, we're going into the inferno. We're done. It's over. Gang, these are Democrats saying this, and to make it even sweeter, they're saying it on MSNBC, of all places. I mean, you heard Rachel Maddow say it earlier. She's actually worried. She's saying this out loud. I can't even believe she said this was after the press conference that that first clip I played for you at the beginning of this live stream. She's actually worried that Biden is being deliberately misled with regard to his poll numbers by his people. Think about what she just said there. Think about it. She just said she's worried that Biden is being deliberately given, misleading polling information to make him think he's actually doing better than he really is. What the F does that say about Biden? How is that a worry? Talk about a subtext beneath the word. Talk about being so myopic as to miss the elephant in the room. If Biden is that easily duped by his aides over something as simple as poll numbers that he could find out just by pulling up CNN's homepage. I mean, going to Google. This is the easiest thing to find. This is the easiest part of my job, is to find polls. That's not a problem. What does this say about Biden's cognitive health when he can be fooled like this, spoon-fed on misleading polls? I mean, seriously, gang, this just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And that's exactly the problem that more and more Democrats are realizing. Look, here's the fundamental problem with everything that's happening here. Okay, Fox is reporting on this, CNN is reporting on this. And I'm gonna fly our flag here. You can come right back to this channel. We predicted it. We predicted it months ago. The fundamental problem, according to reports that Democrats, particularly Democrat donors, are saying one after the other, is they are all coming to the conclusion, openly recognizing this is only going to get worse. They don't care if he just happened to barely squeak by a press conference. They don't care. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, just stop there. Just stop there. Think about how low the bar has been set as of now. It just keeps getting lower and lower. Think about how low the bar has been plunged for Biden. That itself speaks volumes. Byron York of the Washington Examiner said it. The idea that holding a news conference, which should be a routine event for president, which is true. Trump held nearly 100 press conferences during his 4-year term. 100. The idea that holding a news conference, which should be a routine event for a president, has been elevated to a giant test is a sign of the strangeness of this campaign. That's a really nice way of putting it. That the bar has been lowered so low that its depth is itself the end of the campaign. And what a number of reports this morning are saying here is that donors, the donor class, the Democrat Party, they're just not buying what happened last night. The very fact that you had to set the bar so pathetically low that it was deemed a success that Biden barely got through a routine press conference suggests that all of this in the end is a fool's errand, because this is only going to get worse with every passing week. It's all downhill from here. More and more donors are openly saying they don't care if a group of far left activists over at MSNBC were fawning over Biden's foreign policy knowledge. They know Americans don't give a crap about that, and they know it was bad last night, and it's only going to get worse. That's guaranteed. It's only this is all, they were saying this on CNN last night. This is all anybody in the campaign is going to be talking about from here on in, is how bad is Joe really getting? And, again, not to boast here, but on behalf of us all, this is exactly what I, as your humble host, as the immortal Rush Limbaugh used to say, this is precisely what I have been predicting. Gosh, I miss Rush. The more I think of it, I just what he would be saying today. Can you even imagine? And by the way, I have a very, very special personal story about Rush Limbaugh that you're going to want to hear on Wednesday night's Call to Arms event. I'm going to be talking about that, so make sure you click on that link below and RSVP for it. You're going to love it. But this is exactly what I've been saying for months now. Biden's age and senility are his what? Put it in the chat. You guys know this. You should, if you're regulars, you know this. Biden's age and senility are his Achilles heel. This is it. I've been saying this over and over and over again for months. It is not the economy, as bad as that is. It is not inflation, as bad as that is. It is not immigration, as bad as that is. It's not the southern border, as bad as that is. It's not crime, as bad as that is. It's not the threat of nuclear war, as bad as that. All those things are bad enough, but there is an underlying subtext to all of those disasters, and that is Biden's painfully explicit, painfully obvious, degenerative senility. This is Biden's ultimate Achilles heel. And the reason for that is very simple. All these other things can be reversed. All these other things can be made better. The economy can be made better, can be reversed. The border policies can be reversed. The disastrous foreign policy can be reversed. Inflation can be reversed. Everything can be reversed and made better except for one thing, and that is his senility. His age and senility cannot be reversed. They cannot be made better. There is no rectifying that. This is Biden's Achilles heel all the way into November. And the Democrats and the legacy media have always known this. I know no one out there is fooled. No one out there is fooled by CNN's latest mea culpa or George Stephanopoulos' They have all known that Biden is cognitively challenged. They've all known that. They just got away with it because of the meds. The meds have always been able to kick in and basically keep them somewhat cognizant, somewhat cogent. It's the borderline illiterate Joe Scarborough would say. But they've always known. They've always known that Biden has issues, cognitive issues. And they've always known that Americans are not going to reelect a president they believe is not cognitively fit for the job. So that's why they've been hiding it these past 3.5 years. That's why they've been gaslighting you these past 3.5 years. But that Thursday night debate, it all ended. Remember, that was exactly what we said 2 weeks ago on our Livestream Friday. When all said and done, if you want the big takeaway from last night's debate, we said this, when all said and done, Joe Biden's presidency ended last night. We went through all the various layers, all the various ways, the dynamics in which his presidency has ended. And one of them is the cover-up of the legacy media. Largely, it's still there to a certain extent. They tried some last night. Oh, he's on his way back. Yeah, until you look at the front page today and you find out more and more Democrats are calling him to drop out, and more donors are starting to themselves drop out until he drops out. So what the media is doing now, frankly, is just self-preservation, in my opinion. They're just trying to salvage whatever remaining credibility they have left. They have literally been left with no choice but to address the elephant in the room, Biden's senility, and on MSNBC of all places. But they have no choice in the matter anymore. I mean, many of you have seen this, the latest CBS poll. I mean, gang, look at this, 72%. I mean, there's just no way around this. 72% of voters. That's going to include some CNN viewers. That's going to include some CBS and ABC viewers and NBC viewers and MSNBC viewers. 72% of voters think Biden should end his campaign. 72% do not believe Biden should be president. How is he going to win with numbers like that? I don't know if you saw it. I didn't put it. I didn't give it to our producers here, but there's a new Pew, if I recall, it's a Pew research poll that found his approval has hit 32%. That just came out yesterday. 32%. He's just a couple of numbers away from the high 20s. No president has won, as I understand, no president has won re-election with any approval ratings under 45%. So, I mean, that's what, I mean, Cenk Uygur over at the Young Turks, that's his fundamental argument. You don't, I mean, politically, if you're a student of politics, you don't get reelected when 72% of voters think you need to drop out. 86% think you're too old. That's the other stat that CBS had. And 32% think you're doing a great job. You don't get reelected with those numbers. So all of this then begs the question. All of this begs the question here, gang. Is he going to stay? Is he going to drop out? Should he stay or should he go? Is he going to buckle under the pressure and step aside? That is what we are about to answer. But first, gang, don't forget, we've got our Call to Arms event, our very own free online event this next Wednesday, July 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern, that you're absolutely not going to want to miss. This is no time to get complacent. We know this. We know the Democrats can steal. And that means that this is the time that we all galvanize together and we learn what we can, each one of us, do to bury the Democrats for a generation. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday night. It's a completely free event. It's designed to show you the crucial role that you can play in securing Trump's victory in November. We've already had over 1,000 of your fellow patriots RSVP. And if you click on that link below right now to secure your seat there, we're going to send you your Courageous Conservatives book bundle absolutely free as a thank you for taking your part in securing Trump's victory seriously. Oh, yeah, and I forgot. You can also scan the QR code to register. Isn't that cool? I told you we're getting high tech. Turley Talks tech. So whatever you do, click on that link below or scan that QR code. I got to get used to saying that. I'm having my body, my QR code. Anyway, so don't wait. Click on that link or scan your QR code and register today. Also, as you know, it is summertime and the bees are out and buzzing, but they're doing a lot more than just pollinating. Now bees are saving America from the woke wave of leftist culture that's trying to wipe out all that's good and true and beautiful. And I kid you not, Turley Talks is teaming up with Make Honey Great Again to bring you something truly spectacular, MAGA honey. Now you can get a 16-ounce bottle of pure, raw, ultra MAGA honey packaged in a bottle that looks like our great President Donald Trump himself. This untouched raw honey comes straight from 11,000 hives in South Carolina. And I'm telling you, gang, honey never tasted as good as it does coming from a Trump-inspired bottle. Trust me. So what are you waiting for? Click on that link below or visit MakeHoneyGreatAgain.com. Use promo code Turley to show your support. We can make honey and America great again. Click on that link below right now. So is Biden going to eventually be forced out? Obviously, I don't think he's going to voluntarily leave, but will he be forced out? I think when all's said and done, it comes down to one thing. I think we can boil this all down to one thing. And those of you who were watching our videos yesterday, particularly our morning video, you know the one thing. We talked about it. And again, I'm reading, I'm assessing. I think it all comes down to one thing in the end. I think it's coming down to who wins a civil war that has erupted inside the Democratic Party. And that civil war is between Democrat donors and Democrat delegates. To me, that's ultimately what this is coming down to. Donors versus delegates. Who is going to win that civil war? You see, in the end, we are seeing this civil war break out between donors and delegates. And in the end, it really doesn't matter what a bunch of Democrat politicians are saying. It doesn't matter what Jerry Nadler is saying. It doesn't matter what Hollywood actors are saying. It doesn't matter what state legislatures are saying. It doesn't matter what pundits like Van Jones or Jake Tapper are saying. In the end, none of that really matters. This is going to come down to a face-to-face between donors and delegates. Write that down. Donors and delegates. That's what we're going to see over the next 2 weeks. We're seeing a civil war break out between Democrat donors on one side, Democrat delegates on the other. Democrat donors, right now as we speak, are fleeing the sinking ship. There has been report after report after report that Biden's fundraising has literally dried up. It's gone. Ever since the debate, it's gone. No one's giving him money anymore. The mega donors are fleeing the ship. And yet, at the exact same time as Biden's donors are fleeing the ship, his delegates are actually coalescing around him. So this is what I think is perhaps the most fascinating development in terms of what's happening behind the scenes here. Again, this Game of Thrones stuff. Remember, what's happening right now as we speak is that ballots are being sent to all of Biden's delegates. Those ballots are getting returned over the course of the next week or so. And those delegates, as I understand it, are legally bound to Biden. Now, there is word coming out that the delegates are asking the DNC to change those rules so they can vote their conscience. I don't know about that. And certainly Biden's people aren't going to allow that. So what we're seeing here then is that this thing is going to come down to a face-to-face between donors and delegates. Biden looks like he's going to get the delegates to win the nomination, but he's going to lose the donors he needs to win the election. And talk about putting the Democrat Party in a pickle. He won the nomination, but he lost the means of winning the election. And then the pressure here is how this is going to ultimately, this fallout is going to affect Democrats down ticket. Because again, like we talked about yesterday, there are a number of mega donors who are coming out saying that they're going to withhold their money from the Democrats as a whole until Biden drops out, particularly a Disney heiress, granddaughter of one of the founders of Disney, daughter or granddaughter of one of the founders of Disney. They don't want to be a part of this sinking ship. And they realize that if Biden goes down, all the other Democrats are going to go down. So they're pulling their money from the party as a whole until they squeeze Biden out. And we do have now internal Democrat polling that shows that they're going to lose upwards of 20 seats. That's what they're estimating. It could be worse than that. So there really does appear to be, we're seeing the civil war going on MSNBC and CNN between Democrats who are all behind Biden. Democrats are like, dude, we got to get rid of this guy. It's a disaster. You're seeing that civil war there, but there's a real serious, consequential, behind the scenes civil war happening between donors and delegates. And whoever wins that civil war is ultimately going to determine whether Biden stays or whether he finally goes. Over to you guys as our moderator, Josh and Micah, as some of your questions. Remember, if you want to ask me your questions because YouTube has suspended our super chats, just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com. Join any level of support that you like, whatever works for you, and you have access to our own virtual private platform where you can ask me all of your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them on this live stream. And we have yet one more thing.
Be back.
I'll be back. Get that sound up. That's right. He will be back. It's time to show your support and celebrate the great return by clicking on the link below and getting your very own Trumpinator 2024 bobblehead in preparation for Donald Trump's glorious reascendance to the United States presidency. This collectible bobblehead for proud patriots is made with the highest quality material and really is a must-have for any Trump fan who wants to send some powerful and positive energy towards what's shaping up to be the single most epic political comeback in history. Now, don't wait. There are just a limited number of these collectibles, and you don't want to be caught paying way more later on eBay from someone who bought one now. So whatever you do, don't wait. Click on that link below right now and show your support for Trump 2024 today. All right, what's the questions? What's the cues we got? Now, this is unscripted. This is completely unscripted press conference now. Okay, I will choose on this list, and the first one is Richard. Okay, Richard from Reuters. Dr. Steve, I read that the mayor of Chicago has banned demonstrations at the Democrat convention in August. Your thoughts? I have not caught that, Richard, but I can only imagine they want to avoid another 68 replaying again when, of course, they lost to Nixon in a landslide. Which was a precursor to the single biggest presidential landslide in 1972. So they don't want 68 to happen again. They were already worried with the campus protests, the pro-Palestinian progressives clashing with pro-Israeli liberals, and they are scared witless of that making its way into the convention. It could get even worse if Joe is kicked out. If Joe is kicked out, because again, obviously he's not going to give up. So if he is squeezed out by a secret vote by the delegates, or if he just decides if the donor pressure is too strong and it's starting to affect them down ticket and races all the way down to state legislatures, they're going to have to. He's going to have to get out, and then they'll be stuck with Kamala. There'll probably be a power vacuum fight there. There's going to be a lot of disaffected Biden voters who still wanted him to stay in the race, don't want Kamala. They did not vote for her, and they don't want their delegates going to her. So it'll be a mess. So I could see why he'd be preemptive in that. Paul, good morning, Dr. Steve. With the implosion of the Biden campaign, there are obviously other issues to contemplate, such as the down-ticket campaigners, absolutely, are freaking out over the situation. Biden's delegates, who are apparently riding the sinking ship into the abyss. I love that, Paul. And the big money donors, who are dropping like flies. God's hand is becoming more and more obvious. God, amen, in exposing this, right? God's hand is becoming more and more obvious in this whole spectacle. I know what I see, but can I get your input as a theologian? Well, there you go. Yeah, I think you're on to it. I do think light is coming in the midst of the darkness here. Look, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. You know this, Paul. Thousands and thousands of you guys know this. We are in the midst of a very real evil here. We are in the midst of a period of time where our political class has made themselves God. I love the way Tucker puts it. Tucker says for him, there's only two kinds of people: those who know they're not God and those who think they're God. In the end, that's it. There's no left versus right. He'll say there's no No, I don't think he'll say that. I was going to say there's no people versus political class, because I think those who think they're God automatically put themselves up on this this strange caste system at the top of the pyramid, as well. So I'll keep that. But yeah, for him, it's not Democrats versus Republicans, left versus right, conservatives versus liberal. There's those who know they're not God, and there are those who believe they are God. And we are being ruled currently. C.S. Lewis warned us about this in his book, The Abolition of Man, which was published in 1944, if I recall, based on lectures he delivered at the University of Durham, where I graduated in England, back in 1943. There were 3 nights of lectures that he gave, where he said that the modern age, the sort of the evil genius of the modern age, was convincing the masses that they were most free and happy when the elites are most in control. We are most free and happy when the elites are most in control. And Lewis saw that as a new Tower of Babel. That's how he described it in his book, That Hideous Strength, which is his third in a sci-fi trilogy. And the technocrats that were tyrannizing society at the time, he saw as basically trying to create, in effect, a new Tower of Babel. And I think that's that Blinken, Biden, Kamala, all the elites at CNN and MSNBC, they are all Babel builders. And by God's grace, I think this is we're about to see this thing tumble. Now, again, it may take a while because it's so big and so ensconced. This may take some time, obviously. But I do think that light is penetrating the darkness, and confusion is being wrought upon the evildoers, the elite, who call good evil and evil good. And the people are finally realizing they're not most free when these technocrats are most in control, but they are being most manipulated and most coerced when they're in control. And I think that's what's happening here. That's this revelation of Biden really has shaken a lot of people. So there you go. John. Joe, don't go. Joe, don't go. I love it. I'm sorry if I fail to read your taglines here. I love it. Joe, don't go. That's right. Did Joe convince himself to stay in the race after his press conference? Yes, I think he had already done that. I think the general assessment now is Biden and Lady Macbeth have dug in her heels, and they are not going anywhere. And because they believe that they're going to run out the clock, get the delegates, and then in effect you're stuck with them. Because there are state laws, like, as I understand, Wisconsin, for example, where you basically have to die to get off the ballot. Once you're on that ballot, it's done. They put a cutoff here. Primaries are done. General election begins, and that's it. We're not going to re-primary the primaries a week before the election. That's not going to happen. You're done. Here's the date now. And if he dies, then if, as I understand it, he's still on the ticket, but someone else can run in his place. But other than that, it's just someone else will serve on his behalf, like Claire McCaskill did in Missouri. But other than that, once the delegates formalize him, he is the candidate, whether they like it or not. But again, the irony is, if they go Kamala, they're going with somebody even weaker. That's the incident. They're danged. It's Dumb and Dumber. It's danged and danger. So there you go. Kasha, Dr. Steve, are the Democrats crazy enough to actually harm Biden to get him to drop out? Like, oh no, Joe has had a stroke. Oh no. I work with elderly and dementia. Do we have anything else for her, for Kasha? I work with elderly and dementia. Okay. Yeah. Maybe, again, I don't put anything past these people. They're evil. They're utterly evil. Again, they think they're God, or gods. And I literally mean that. I mean, historically, the way society is structured, again, C.S. Lewis gets into this. The way society is structured, you have God on top. You have some kind of divine meaning and purpose and power on top. Then you have some kind of priestly class. that it's their full-time job to explain to us, to reveal that revelation from on high. Then you have some kind of political class to institute that revelation through all spheres of society. You have some kind of military class to protect that and defend it. And then you have your whole social class of, merchants and families and communities and so forth that live it out in day-to-day life. And in many respects, what you've got is you've got the political class basically rising up and putting itself in the place of God today. So you've got almost, in a sense, a sort of inverted order. And God, they still keep, but they keep them below, and they keep them undefined. And you're not allowed to put them in your classroom. I mean, you can't put your 10 Commandments up on a wall. That would get in front of the rainbow flag. So I mean, you're not allowed to impose your ideology, your religious ideology, on our kids. So yeah, you got it. I mean, I think they might, but I don't know at this point. It just, in the end, again, he's got his supporters. He's got who, in fairness to them, recognize he's the best they got, which is true. From just a data-driven perspective, Biden's the best they got. You put anyone else in there, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, well, Iowa's gone anyway. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, they are gone. The blue wall is gone. It's over. So anyway, that's going to be anyway. Lynn took your response to my concern about illegals voting in the 24 election, gloom and doom to heart, and did a little research. Found that between 2020 and 2024, the number of independent and no party registrants in my county and New York went up substantially, some up to 25%. Found articles that highlight this trend in states such as Texas and Arizona, but attribute it to disenchanted voters. Is this how illegal immigrants are registering? Have reached out to Rich Barris for his thoughts. Good. Yeah. I've talked to Rich about this as well. Again, based on the data, he's seeing the hard numbers. You're based on the data. It's there. Yes, illegal immigrants are voting, but not nearly in the numbers that they would need to move this election one way or the other in key states. That's his opinion. So again, make sure you end up not spreading doom and gloom. Don't go Denethor. Make sure you go to the right people, go to your representatives, go to your senators, go to your local polling official, volunteer as a polling official, and check in with them and see what is being done to ensure that illegal immigrants are not voting. That's key. And then make sure they know you'll be watching. It's that simple. They're scared to death of light. So shed light on it. Johnny, the whiz kid. Long time no see. Turley, how are you? The SAVE Act bill was passed, but Biden, of course, will veto it. Yeah, well, it didn't even make it past the Senate. So Biden won't even see it. Can it still be overwritten, passing the law? No. But then I read on Twitter that the Senate blocked. Okay, you got ahead of me. I got ahead of you. Sorry. I'm confused how this works. Is there still hope for it to pass? But also, should it matter? Because the Democrats are capable of doing anything. Since when does any law stop them from getting what they want? That's well put, Johnny. Actually, that's very, very well put. No, it's not going to happen. So what you have to do is you have to hold your local officials accountable. This is key. This is really important. All voting is local. We've heard the expression all politics is local. Well, actually, all voting is local. All the votes that you can impact and you can affect are literally happening down the street from you. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to ask the question of those who are overseeing the process in your state legislature and those who are enacting the process down the street. Those are the two you have to hold accountable. So we'll be talking more about this on Wednesday night. So make sure you sign up for the call to arms. You're already part of our Insiders Club, so you probably got automatic enrollment in it. But make sure you sign up in case you haven't, because we're going to go over some practical things that you can do to make sure you hold your state legislatures and your local polling officials accountable for illegal immigrants voting. That is, of course, a big concern. Now, again, keep in mind, if that happens, and if it's found out that there was, you probably have civil war. I mean, the amount of social unrest that would come out of that. I mean, I couldn't even begin to predict. So they would only be destroying themselves, I think, in many ways. Terry, well, AOC's impeachment resolutions against Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito go anywhere, and hasn't she set a precedent for patriotic Congress members to impeach Jackson Kagi or Sotomayor for infidelity to the Constitution? No, they won't go anywhere. No one's taking them seriously. Yes, again, she's crossing the Rubicon. Absolutely. Matt Gaetz can do the same thing the next time Jackson Kagan or Sotomayor end up ruling in a way that he doesn't like. So absolutely. Very good point. Diana, hello, Dr. Steve. Could you do a video on Dr. Ethan Haim, H-A-I-M? He's the whistleblower exposed the Children's Hospital Gender Affirming Program. The feds went after him, and he's currently charged with 4 alleged counts of HIPAA violations. He's facing 10 years in federal prison. As Tucker says, we go to prison for telling the truth today. If convicted, he and his wife have spent over $300,000 in legal fees. And he says it will cost around $1 million when all is said and done. It's shameful how the left has taken over the medical profession. It is. And if Diana, if you know, if he has a GoFundMe or whatever, it is, let us know. I'm sure people would want to help out. I will look into that. Dr. Ethan Haim. And tragedy, of course. Rich, Dr. Steve, it seems that Democrats are investing on attacking and misrepresenting Project 2025. That's right, which has been openly published on Heritage Foundation for several years. All it's finding people and training, all it is finding people and training them to execute the new Trump administration agenda. Is this an admission of defeat that they're now attacking a future administrative staff? Yeah, it's exactly. Just again, it shows they've got nothing. They can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about immigration. They can't talk about foreign policy. They got nothing. I mean, Biden did everything he could to try to make NATO look like a success last night. Anybody who's been following even the slightest bit of what's going on around the world knows the world's falling apart under Biden's custodialship. So, yeah, no, Project 2025 is just a boogeyman that the left has invented. It's going nowhere. I mean, it's a political dud. You'll see puff pieces here. Oh, Project 2025 is making independents nervous. Don't worry about it. Again, a lot of that is just legacy media crap. Brooks, since the 25th Amendment would not change the outcome of the nomination of Biden, what options do they have left for committing Harry Carey when it comes to November? As far as I understand it, in the end, I have a very hard time believing they would do a 25th. Maybe. I mean, again, Pelosi and Obama are apparently talking behind the scenes. Schumer apparently is open to replacing Biden. If the money really, really, really dries up, and that's what they're all in it for, maybe they'll do it. It does not look like there's anything they can say that can get rid of Biden. Maybe they're just going to have to bribe him because he seems to respond to bribes pretty consistently. So I don't know. It's a good question. In the end, all I know is that were he not to run, it's going to go to Kamala because that's, I think, legally and logistically, that's the only place the money can go that he's raised. But again, he's burned through all this money. Trump hasn't even spent his yet. He hasn't even begun spending it yet. He's waiting till after the convention next week, which will be fun to watch. So he's burning through all this money. And it's not getting replenished. He's got no money. So, I mean, it's dangerous stuff. They've literally got no good options at this point. None. Rock Dog. Dr. Steve, the fact they keep doing this and exposing Biden for who he really is tells me they've got somebody they think that can beat Trump with. Who's that? Rock Dog. I have no idea. I literally have no idea. They have polled anybody and they have even polled Al Gore. Did you see that? They have even polled a guy who has not run in 24 years. They even polled him against Trump. Trump beats everyone. He beats Michelle. He beats Kamala. He beats Gruesome Newsom. He beats Gretchen. He beats Hillary. He beats all of them. So I don't know. I don't know who they would possibly run. Maximilian, when it comes to acquiring and maintaining political power, I'm aware of at least two theories: elite theory and selectorate theory. Which do you hold to and why? Or do you, one of two, subscribe to a third? Maximilian, you got me. I am going to have to look those up. Elite theory and selectorate. Most likely, I'm going to fall in a third in a via media, because I find most theories have something to them. They're right. They wouldn't, and a theory is a form of explanation. So they'll have something right to them. They are explaining something, but they may not be explaining the fullness of the phenomenon. And so to the extent that they don't, there are going to be all these anomalies, and that's going to require you to find a different theory. I just not read up on elite and selectorate theory, and I'll have to do that. But I'll most likely, as you're doing it, see if there's a via media. So, for example, social theory often comes down to individualist theories and holist theories. So individualist theories say societies are basically made up of individuals and what individuals think and do and so forth. Holist theories say that societies, this is Marx, societies basically shape and mold what individuals do. Individuals don't do anything apart from the options that society gives to them, any society gives to them. Practice theory works in between those two. Practice theory says that society is comprised of individuals who nevertheless engage in common practices. So there is individuality and holistic dynamics inherent in any society, and they need each other and they imply one another. So that's I'm always looking for sort of that via media, that third way to try to bring the two best theories together. And I bet it's out there. So very good, Maximilian. Let's follow up on that. That's cool stuff. Mevi Deloca, do you think Cackling Cammy will initiate Article 25 on Tater Show? I'm sure her people are chomping at the bit to do it. We'll see. I don't know. J2Bav, Dem leaders know Trump is going to win hugely. Will the Democrats sacrifice Kamala so they can eliminate her from future campaigns? Again, that's another good question. This is one of the reasons why I think Newsom and Gretchen, they don't want even Hillary. Well, maybe Hillary will want it because Hillary just loves the limelight and she loves donors. But most viable candidates, viable just in terms of, somebody who could run, aren't touching this campaign with a 10-foot pole, a 100-foot pole. They wouldn't go near it. It's so damaged. They'd be spending so much time digging out of this weapon of mass destruction detonated hole that they just don't want to go near it. This is Joe's to implode in. And what they're going to try to do, it seems to me, at least those who are sticking with Joe, is they're going to try as desperately as they can to try to convince as many donors as they can to give at the very least down to ticket candidates. It's going to be a hard sell because these donors are reading the polls. Now, they're not very studious, because if they were really studying the polls holistically, they would recognize that actually Biden's their best chance. Biden is their best chance. Biden is their best chance to win states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan. Okay, but put Kamala in there, you could kiss goodbye the three blue wall states. You could kiss them goodbye. They're all going to turn Iowa, Ohio. They're all going to turn deep red. You could kiss them goodbye. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. Again, at this point, 100 days out, 100 plus days out, they have no good options. This really did turn into a disaster. It really did. All around Biden's Achilles heel issue, his senility. Franz, good morning, Dr. Steve. With civilizationalism growing all over the world, how will the new secular space take shape in a populist framework? That's neat. That's a great question. A lot of people, a lot of scholars are actively looking at that. It's the best, I think the most broad answer, the most general answer is it's not as though the secular goes away. The secular has become a very important part of particularly Western society over the last couple of hundred years. It's not as though the secular goes away. I mean, it will in certain areas, like in rural America. It doesn't even really exist in rural America, but I mean, to the extent that it does, like the Coeur d'Alene officials in Idaho saying you couldn't carry crosses in a 4th of July parade, and of course, all the Coeur d'Alene conservatives came out with tons of crosses, and that's how patriots respond to tyrants. There'll be parts of our country, in particular, parts of Europe, where parts of Eastern Europe, and certainly we're already seeing it in Russia, where secularism just disappears. It's just not even there. Religion just becomes a intrinsic part of how you do daily life. I mean, it already is. Secularism is a religion, but classical, traditional, civilizationalist religion comes back. But generally speaking, the way scholars think about it in the West is that secular space is still there, but now it accommodates itself to religion rather than seeks to separate itself. So we've talked about the difference between the separatist view and the accommodationist view of church and state. So historically, our founding fathers were accommodationists. They believed that church and state were separate spheres. They had separate responsibilities. They weren't supposed to get in each other's business, as it were, but they were supposed to work together in the public square so as to promote a virtuous society, because all the founding fathers believed that in order for us to be a self-governing people, in order to be truly free, we had to develop civic virtue. We had to develop a sense of self-governance. But virtue, civic virtue, only comes from one of the great religious traditions. So in order to have virtue, you had to have faith. Now, in fairness, the founding fathers, as I understand, didn't particularly care which faith it was, but it had to be a faith connected with a civic virtue tradition, which would be the great civilizational face of the age, of our ages, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, you name it. Just the big, not the esoteric kind of pagan religions. It would be these major civilizational religions. But in order to have true faith, you had to have freedom. But in order to have freedom, you had to have virtue, which required faith, which required freedom, which required virtue. So that's the golden triangle of liberty or freedom that our founding fathers all held to. So they recognized that required an accommodationist view of church and state. What happened post 1940, the Supreme Court had used the phrase separation between church and state, which obviously comes out, it's outside, it's extra constitutional. It comes from a line in Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists. I grew up about 10, 20 minutes from Danbury in Connecticut. So the Danbury Baptists, he said, we're committed to this wall of separation between church and state. But that phrase was, I believe it was only quoted a handful of times by Supreme Court justices. They were much more interested in referring to America as a Christian nation, which they've done on a number of decisions, the Supreme Court. After 1940, for whatever reason, again, it's hard to pin why, after 1940, they referred to the separation of church and state thousands of times. So there seems to be a real fixed point in history of when you see this secular space, this very hostile space that seeks to separate itself from any kind of religious influence emerge. And post-secular scholars are arguing that space is now going to have to reaccommodate itself to religious activity more and more. And we're just seeing that everywhere. Even in Europe, where you're seeing more and more courts making space for Islamic expression. So you're seeing, Islamic prayer gatherings, for mass Islamic prayer gatherings, the azan responding to the call to prayer in courtyards all throughout London, for example, or Paris. And you're having Supreme Court say, well, they're allowed. You're allowed to do that, because more and more they're recognizing that the wall between the separation between church and state just simply cannot be sustained, logically speaking. Bottom line, the argument is that the wall between the separation between church and state is a religious reasoned doctrine. You cannot make law regarding religion without reasoning about religion, without using, in other words, religious reasoning. Any more than you can make a law about chemistry without invoking some kind of scientific reasoning. You can't make laws regarding religion and its limitations without invoking some kind of theologizing. So the state actually, that's the argument. One of the reasons why the wall between the separation between church and state is basically imploded. It's because in the end, the state can't enforce that wall without engaging in its own form of religious reasoning. So it does sneak in religion through the back door, but on its own terms, and more people are just not buying that. So we're seeing that obviously in India, the wall between the separation between Hindu temple and state has just completely collapsed under the Bharatiya Janata Party and Narendra Modi. And so saw that in Turkey with Erdogan, the wall between mosque and state is completely collapsed. So we're just seeing that everywhere. It's just collapsing. So the secular is still there, secular reasoning, scientific reasoning, and the like, although scientific reasoning is rooted in classical Christian and Muslim contemplation, but and Babylonian contemplation and the like. But regardless, modern secular science is still there. Modern secular law is still there, and modern secular politics is still there. But it's having to accommodate the growing role of a revived religious practice more and more in society. So that's basically, it's the accommodationist view is coming back as opposed to separationist view. Oh, from Rumble, Noah, what did Biden say about Trump not being prepared for what's coming next? I don't know. When did he say that Trump is not prepared for what's coming next? I don't know. We'll have to see. I missed that. That's a good question. Again, I don't know if Biden knows what's coming next. So, Bill, Dr. Steve, we should know Trump's pick for VP by the convention. Trump said that he'll pick someone who would take over the presidency, but he also indicated that he believes he has to pick someone who can help him get elected. I believe the pick for VP is very important. We need to remember that what happened with the assassination, of course, of William McKinley and the presidency of Theodore Roosevelt. The powers at the time put Roosevelt as VP because they thought it made powerless thoughts. Yeah, and I'm thinking also JFK. With LBJ, a lot of even RFK, throw all those in there, is concerned about, has expressed his belief that the CIA got rid of his uncle in order to bring in a more pro-Vietnam Lyndon Johnson administration. Yeah, I'm with you. I think in the end, whoever his VP is irrelevant to this election. He's just breaking. I mean, the Biden campaign is imploding so much and inescapably, it seems to me at this point, and that and Trump is so strong and is so overbearing in terms of what he brings to the ticket. It really doesn't matter who he picks. There's a few things. He doesn't want to disappoint the base. So this is where people are getting a little nervous with Kristi Noem or Doug Burgum. You don't want to pick a Karl Rove plant or your John Bolton light person. You don't want to do that. You don't want to disappoint your base. At the same time, you do need someone who I think is respectable, and who will add to the ticket, not take away from it. So like a Ben Carson is very good. Again, the media will try to scare us all they can about him, but he does have such an objectively good backstory. I was at, remember, Johns Hopkins University's my alma mater, my wife and my alma mater. and he was in the neurology department back then of pediatrics. I mean, he's a brilliant surgeon, neurological surgeon, and so he has an amazing backstory, and he came from the hood, literally. He learned to read in homeschooling. His mother never could read. She pretended she could read just to get him to study. And he would be very, very good. I think J.D. Vance would be excellent. I heard Karl Rove was bashing on J.D. Vance. Of course, they hate him because he hates war. Karl Rove loves war. So J.D. Vance, I think, would be a very respectable choice. He handles himself very well under pressure on CNN or MSNBC. Ben Carson, soft-spoken, think very good. And then thirdly, he does need to find someone who the establishment is more afraid of than they are of him. I agree with your assessment immediately. I just think if he picks someone that the establishment wants in power, they're going to do what they can to get him in power. So he's got, this is a little bit of, I mean, he even said it about Kamala. CNN read it out loud. He said at his rally the other night in Florida that Kamala was Joe Biden's best decision ever because she's the best job insurance he could possibly have because nobody wants her. So Jennifer, hey, Dr. Steve, when do we get a Butter the Popcorn t-shirt? We should. Hey, guys, we need to get some Butter the Popcorn t-shirts made. That sounds great. Love it, Jennifer. Rick Rack, are the delegates for Biden legally restricted to be used for him, or are they controlled by DNC rules, which could be changed? We know that there are no tricks they would not use if necessary. So, great question, Rick. As I understand it, under current DNC rules, they are bound to the person their voters that they're representing voted for. So, if say you're in a state that's proportionate in terms of delegates, 80% of you vote for Biden, 20% vote for somebody else in the primaries. 80% of delegates then are assigned to Biden. Those delegates are not allowed by DNC rules to turn around and vote for somebody else. They have to vote for who you are, because so what they did is they had primaries over the course of several months over all 50 states, and then on one day, or now they're doing it through, ironically, mail-in ballot, over the course of the week, all the delegates who represent the winners from those contested primaries come together and say, here is the final tally of the vote. I represent so-and-so. I am voting for Biden, blah, blah, blah. So they have to vote Biden. As I understand it, delegates are now asking the DNC to change the rules, right? Ex post facto, change the rules so they can be free to vote for someone else, which again will cause another civil war in the Democrat Party. You think Democrats like that, right? The party that stands up for democracy thwarts the will of the voter. That's insane. So again, they have no good options at this point. It's dumb and dumber. Mark, so what giant sigh of relief event did the Dems have planned for just before the election? Any potential scenarios? I mean, this is what they're talking about on the Talking Head shows, on the panels, on MSNBC, on CNN. There is none. They just can't think. They can't think of any event that can overcome obvious cognitive decline. They just don't see it. I mean, a fairly decent, and again, fairly decent with the lowest bar imaginable press conference. Okay. That's not going to do it. That's not going to assuage donors. That's not going to assuage vulnerable Democrats. John Tester of Montana is hiding in his closet right now. He's hiding on his Montana ranch right now because he cannot answer the question, are you standing behind Biden? because he knows he's going to lose by 40 points. He's going to lose by 40 points anyway. Yeah, there's just nothing. I don't see it. I don't see it. Again, no matter what they bring up, no matter what, this is why I say it's his Achilles heel. No matter what they bring up, nothing changes the fact that Biden demonstrated himself cognitively deficient for all the world to see that night. Nothing can change that. 50 million people tuned in. They cannot unsee what they saw. I just don't know what they're going to try. They'll try something, but I don't know if it'll work. John, hi, Dr. C. How long do you think Joe would last on Jeopardy? How long do you think Joe would last on Jeopardy? I'll take incompetent presidents for 200, Vanna. Yeah, I think you're messing up your. I think you're messing up. I think you're mixing your game show metaphors here. Anyway, looking forward to next Wednesday. Awesome, John. Great to see you. It's going to be a good night. We had a planning meeting yesterday, and it's going to be awesome. Let's try to keep the Republicans from pulling defeat from the jaws of victory again. Amen. Amen. I'm sure if anyone could, they're going to do it. There's no question on that. Again, if you don't know what John is talking about, we've got our Cold Arms event this next Wednesday at 7:00 Eastern, totally free online event where we're going to have some guests come on, and I'm going to show you exactly what we need to do to ensure victory in November. So we got a QR code that you can scan, or you could just click on that link below. But join us. Over 1,000 of you have already RSVP'd. It's going to be an amazing night. You're going to absolutely love it. And if you click on that link below today, or if you scan that QR code, we're going to send you our Courageous Patriots book bundle. It's 3 of my own books, absolutely free, just as a thank you for taking your role in a November victory seriously. Texas, Nate. Hello, Dr. Steve. Do you think Biden stating Putin as president of Ukraine is an admission to the defeat of Ukraine? Maybe he's psychic now. I didn't think about that, Texas, Nate. It might be subliminal. I mean, it was just so cringe. I mean, it was beyond cringe. I mean, and I'm no Zelensky fan for sure. I think Zelensky is he redefines the meaning of grifter. But I don't know. That was just bad. I know there are people in the Biden camp, and I think Biden knows that there is no way Ukraine wins this. I think they all know that. They all know this is a disaster. But was that part of the subliminal message of it, ladies and gentlemen, President Putin? I don't know. It's a good question. Jeff, Dr. Steve, what do you think their next strategy will be after saying Project 2025 a million times a day fails? And when will it officially be 3 to be 3 to? All right, we'll leave it at that. That's all we got. I don't know what their next gimmick is going to be. It's not going to be it's not going to be good. Whatever. Again, make sure you understand all they're trying to do now with Project 25 or any gimmick they get is they're just trying to limit the surge for Trump. That's all they're trying to do right now. They're just trying to limit the surge. They're just trying to limit the margin that Trump has. But I don't think that margin, I don't think assailing that margin is even remotely within the realm of possibility. Hence why so many donors are pulling out. Hence why so many Democrats are calling for Biden to basically bow out at this point. I mean, there's just no way around it. Correct dog, Dr. Steve. Constitutionally speaking, if Beto Cho is removed by the 25th Amendment before the convention, then what happens to his delegates? Does that become an open convention? This is a great question, Rock Dog. And as I understand it, Rich Barris has been talking about this. A number of people have been talking about it. As I understand it, it does have to, I don't know if it's a constitutional thing. It's going to be more DNC thing. It has to go to Kamala. It's Kamala is the only other one logistically and legally that can inherit both the delegates and the money. That's how I understand it. Everybody else is outside the. It's not even the delegates. No one else, as I understand, gets the money. At least Kamala's on the ticket. So there's an implication of Kamala. But still, you would have to go through all kinds of legal loopholes. And every state has its own laws. At this point, I think there's no way around it at this point, or at least in the next week or so. Biden's name is going to be on that ballot. The best they can hope for is Kamala will just promise to serve, but people will be voting for Biden on that ballot. There's just really no way out of that. So that's what I think. No one else can come in. I don't think it's going to be contested. I mean, sorry, all of this may be contested, but they can't contest the money. They can't contest the delegates per se. I think a lot of that automatically goes to Kamala. The contestation is just a lot of unhappy people. Oof, Peter Schut, do you think Biden will take the elites, his own words, down with him when they drop him from the ticket? That's a good question. Yeah, notice he's using populist language. Isn't that interesting? Everybody's going populist today. And keep in mind, we were populist before it was cool to be populist. When the European populist parties were still just getting 1, 5, 7% in the polls. Good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. If they bribe him, no, he'll just take his money and run. Jill will take her money and run. If they try, but if Jill digs in her heels and this gets really serious, yeah, she may go full, mutually assured destruction, right? Full mad on him. So. CH, why is our world starting to remind me of the show From, which is actually pretty good, by the way? I don't know From. I don't know, but yes, it is going crazy. Remember, we are living in what's called post-normal times. That's from a scholar, a British Pakistani scholar by the name of Ziaddin. 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 What's his first name? Fareed, I forget. Pakistani British scholar. And he's brilliant. I mean, he basically sees the old globalist liberal world as dead, but the new civilizationalist world has yet to establish itself. So we're in this interim period known as post-normal times. And what he means by that is anything that was normal just 5 years ago, forget about it. It's not normal today. Obviously, we see that, right? But anything that would have explained the world, just say a decade ago, is going to be is going to fail to explain things today. And so what he does instead is he uses the characteristics of a post-normal world, which is complexity, chaos, and contradiction. Complexity, chaos, and contradiction. I'm actually writing about this in my new book, called the proposed title is Unstoppable: How Trump and the MAGA movement are changing the world, or how the rise of Trump and MAGA movement are changing the world. Something really cool there. But I get into a chapter on Trump as our first post-normal president. That's not meant to be a diss. What it means is we have to understand and this is what has caught our legacy media and our traditional political pundits so off balance here. It's post-normal times operates by its own illogic, as it were. Complexity, where the things that used to hold together, like just end up breaking apart. So think about late night television, right? Johnny Carson could bring in 15, 20 million people a night, make fun of both, Carter and Ford, just make everyone feel at home. Compare that now to Colbert, who's a full-blown Democrat lefty liberal and who insults half the country every night. So the late night television that used to bring us all and bind us all together shattered now into Greg Gutfeld over here and Steve Colbert over there and Jimmy Kimmel was so pathetic over there and the like. So that's complexity. Whatever was held together by the old era, the old paradigm is shattered. Then you have chaos, and chaos is just things don't fall out the way you think they're going to fall out. And this is largely today because of our hyperconnectivity on the internet. So the media keeps thinking that they can control the narrative when all of us are going on X, right? Formerly known as Twitter. All of us are going on X, and we know what's happening before even the anchors on CNN know what's happening. We know what's happening in real time because people with smartphones are sharing digital information on their own social media posts in real time as things are happening. We're living in the age of the death of the satellite truck, right? The network satellite truck. Now, everything, all the film that we're seeing of any, not even using the word film is, just archaic, but anything we're seeing now in terms of a breaking issue is from live on the scene, average Joes filming it on their smartphones. So now we get to bypass. There's this chaos of bypassing the legacy media that once had a monopoly on information dissemination. And then you have contradiction, which is the growing divide between the haves and the have-nots, the political class and the people. And understanding our times as post-normal times helps us make sense of these insane times. So that's kind of the tip of the hat that I do. So there you go. I don't know. I have not seen From, but I tried to add something to the conversation there. Paul, Josh and Micah, I signed up for Wednesday, but that's also a church night. Will a replay be available? If you can answer here, you can email me, and then he gives his email. You guys got it over there, Josh and Micah, at nonamehorse@protonmail.com. Thanks. Yes, I believe there is going to be something available. I don't know. Don't quote me on it, but Josh and Micah can let you know. Patriot Jules, Dr. Steve, did you see that they have a radiation issue in Milwaukee? They're measuring it now before the RNC. Are they trying to take us all out? I don't know, Patriot Jules. That's pretty horrible stuff. I did not see that. So we'll have to find out what's going on there. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve is a retired fireman medic. I've seen stage 4 Alzheimer's. And dementia patients. Joe has been in stage 4 since 2019 at least. We know the election was stolen. So how do we remove all those judges since he was not a legitimate president? Yeah, a good question. No, we're not going to. They're entrenched at this point. It's just going to require a generation of just root canal in terms of our political class and just getting rid of all of the rot. I mean, it can happen. Nayib Bukele is doing a bang-up job, an amazing job in El Salvador. Javier Milei in Argentina. Of course, Viktor Orban in Hungary. But it's hard. I mean, Putin took on his deep state and got rid of all of the entrenched former communists and the like. Law and Justice were doing that in Poland until the communists took over again. It's hard. It's hard. It is just hard. This might go back into what Maximilian's talking about in terms of theories of power and how you maintain it. But yeah, I'm with you. I know, Rock Dog, this is getting personal for a lot of people. I talked to somebody at our church who just said, just seeing Biden. Actually, I was just talking to somebody else about one of my son's friends who was saying, this really is getting personal. He saw his own grandfather die of dementia, of Alzheimer's. And this is hard. This is bringing back memories from, people who've dealt with loved ones who've had these issues, know it. They recognize the sign. They recognize the signs, miles away, and they see it. And this is just, so this is hard. All right, we got to wrap it up. I actually have a hard stop here. One more question. What do we got? Joe Bro, Dr. Steve, did you see all the reaction shots from the administration and Zelensky? It seems like the cameras are finally pointed exactly what the public wants to see, the horror in everyone's eyes. Joe Bro, what a way to sum this puppy all up, you got it. I mean, the media is showing this stuff now. That's the amazing thing. So you got to wonder what's going on there. Is it that the media is taking the side of the donors? If you got a donor delegate clash, a donor delegate civil war, is the media taking the side of the donors? They're on the side of the money, of the billionaires and the mega millionaires. Are they taking the side of the donors and trying to get rid of Biden? Are they doing the donors' bidding, in other words? So, yes, I saw it, and it was cringe. Gang, don't forget, we've got our Call to Arms event, our own free online event next Wednesday, July 17th, and you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be absolutely amazing. This is no time to get complacent. The fact is that this is the time we can actually bury the Democrats for a generation. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about together with over 1,000 of you already RSVP'd on Wednesday night. It's a completely free event. It's designed to show you your crucial role that you can play in securing Trump's victory in November. So just click on that link below. Or I think, do we still have the QR code, guys? Bring up the QR code if you've got it. If you roll back at a video, you'll get our QR code. But click on that link below. Secure your place in this wonderful, wonderful gathering that we're going to have on Wednesday. And if you do that today, we're going to send you absolutely free our Courageous Conservatives book bundle as a thank you for taking your part in securing your part and taking this, what you do in upcoming victory so seriously. So don't wait. Click on that link below to register today. God bless, gang. Have a wonderful weekend. See you on Monday.